Let's change from the fully crewed to the partially crewed division. And Mr. DeRolin, I see, is here. And I understand he has once again won the division. So, Rich?
In terms of this race, being upwind the whole way, it was just more wear and tear, I found, than the other races we did. And one thing we've learned over the years is the roller furling jib. It's nice in races where you have chutes going up and down, but for just going to windward, no boat performs well with a roller furler up on the headstay once you have to roll it up. And so we developed a technique of dropping the big jib, putting up a Solon jib on inner forestay, then dropping the big one, having a little string of baby snaps, snapping onto loops we had sewn in the luff every time 3 feet of sail came out of the feeder so we don't lose it over the side with only one crew on the foredeck. And we had to do this change back from the Solon to the one many times during the race, and it was about an hour exercise from beginning to end, totally wearing us out. So next time we go double handing, we're going to have old-fashioned Hanks. Now the Volvo 70s figured that out, and I think for double handing, Hank sails is actually the way to go. Unless you're doing reaching around the world on an open boat, but for going to Bermuda, I think Hanks is the answer. The other is preparation, which you all know about. We thought we were about as well prepared as we could be, but the unexpected always occurs, and halfway to Bermuda, our engines start to overheat. We need power to keep our batteries up for our autopilots, autopilot. And without an autopilot, double handing gets to be a lot more difficult. And the engine overheated, so I shut the seacock to get to the strainer. And when I opened the seacock, the handle broke off, leaving the seacock in the shut position. And so we therefore had to hand steer the last 48 hours. And it's the only time in my career where I've ended up hallucinating. And that wasn't all bad. It was like being in the 60s again. But my crew, Chris Railing's on an airplane heading back, and he's done 3 of the 4 races we've won. And he and I alternated hand steering. At that point, you couldn't cook. You couldn't do anything easily. See if this is any better. The hand steering is interesting because the autopilot, you can be faster than autopilot for a while. But after a while, you have to hit autopilot to go trim a sail, to go down and get coffee, to enter the log. You really need the ability to have the boat self-steer for at least a moderate period of time so you can do all the crew work of racing a boat. And it's fun getting a boat tuned up for double-handed speed because you have to have a perfectly balanced helm. So you sail it a little differently than putting a little weather helm in other conditions. And so you're trimming the boat differently, doing a lot of tweaking. It's a lot of fun. So again, double handing is kind of a unique part of the sport. In terms of our strategy, it was not too much different than the other guys, but I find that as each Bermuda race comes up, we're getting more and more information to have to deal with. And I think we are facing an information overload when you think that every boat pretty much is at Jennifer's meeting and then at Commander's meeting, and the group think makes it very hard sometimes to think for yourself. 2 years ago, you had the eastern strategy and the down the middle strategy, and the fleet split. And that was a hard choice. This time, all the facts were lining up and seemed very consistent that going west was the thing to do. And in getting out on the race course, I think you got to ignore the boats you see going left and right around you. I think you even have to ignore a lot of the position reports. And I think that if you get less information, but make sure what you're getting is useful, it'll be better. Now, for a double hand, you have no choice. You can't sit down there and play with the computer. So we would download once a day position reports of our class, and we download 1 or 2 Gulfstream charts to see if anything had changed, and 1 weather map, the 24-hour forecast. And that was all we used. And it was just what we needed to confirm that things were the same as at the start. If things were changing a lot, we'd have to get more maps. But I think there's a tendency to overload with information and to not think it out yourself. So that's, and double-handers have no choice because you just don't have time to play around too much. In terms of what we did, we just stayed hard in the wind from the start. And my comments the night before were, crack your sheets a few inches, always keep moving. But this seemed so important to get west that we just went hard on the wind. We might have cracked off 1 or 2 degrees so the autopilot wouldn't get caught pinching in a wave. And we did a lot of hand steering, but had the chance to hit the button when we needed to. And we just worked as far west as we could. And our plan, we had 3 points. And I think when the thinking is, I want to get the bow towards Bermuda, that's irrelevant till you come out of the stream. I think you're hitting, point A for us was entering the warm eddy at about 12:30 on the clock and exiting it as close to the same longitude as we could at the bottom, and getting across the stream and leaving at least 60 miles of westing off the rum line. And so in our case, we ended up maximum 92 miles west, and we ended up 75 miles west coming out of the Gulf Stream. Because we did a port tack to get into the warm eddy, about a 20-mile port tack to get in at the top of the eddy. And we're an easier boat going to windward than a Cal 40, so it was easier for us to do it. We were able to get in the top and then ride it the entire length and come out almost at the very bottom. And then we went to the stream and basically starboard tack. People say never go port tack in the Gulf Stream, but after a while it was obviously we were going to have to get our euro currency out if we didn't get out of there. And so we did it. We did a tack, and the power of the core of the Gulf Stream gave us a header that allowed us to flip on a port. And even though we could have gone 11 knots on starboard, we were making 5 knots due south on port. And every half hour you could see the velocity of current diminish as we worked our way through the core. And that was the last tack we did. We did about a 25-mile tack coming out of the stream. And then we hit, when we got out of the current, the breeze headed again, and we flipped for Bermuda. And our plan was to try to actually get on the ley line, not leaving anything in our pockets. We wanted to lay Bermuda from there. We wanted to have something in our pockets because going hard on the wind is very hard for a small boat particularly. So we were able to free sheets a few inches and do the old bow down a little bit routine to Bermuda. And along the way we crossed tacks with Mireille, Hewitt Gaynor, 3 or 4 times. We had fun tacking on each other with a few hundred yards to spare. And when you matched our courses, it was almost identical. Valkyrie was very near us the whole way too. So 3 double-handers all had the same strategy and kept in touch. So that was kind of fun. Pardon me? We started in the stream on starboard and got about halfway across, but we were still reading 4 knots of current. It wasn't diminishing, and we were making good 110 with the effect of the current. And we were giving away westing at a speed of 10 or 11 knots. And at that point, we don't like to put the bow in the current, but when we tack, we were able to get the current about 50, 60 degrees off the bow, and we still had 5 knots crossing the current. And that was a critical move to not lose more westing. And a little boat, not just a double-hander, but a little boat, needs to play the current perfectly. We're going so slow compared to speedboat or rambler that if we're not making use of the current, we're not going to do well at all. So the Bermuda to us was irrelevant. We wanted to hit the current, play the current, and then aim for Bermuda when the Gulf Stream was behind us. So it was I think a small boat has a different strategy than something higher speed that might not go out of its way as we did. Yes? Question is about after the Gulf Stream. The rum line from where we got out of the stream happened to go through what looked like the favorable edge of the 2 lower eddies that Jennifer had in the chart. But I'd say we encountered random currents along the way. It wasn't very consistent. And frankly, at that point, the power of just cracking off a few degrees and gaining half or 3/4 a knot with a boat, it was more important for us to just play the ley line and keep the boat speed up and not go out of our way after we exited the stream. Yeah. How many people here have ever double-hand raced? Great. Jim, welcome to Bermuda. Jim Binch, craziest man in the fleet. An Aphrodite 101, 35 feet long, and we saw him out there before the start, and my crew said, that doesn't look safe enough to be in the spectator fleet. But Jim, you sailed a very nice race. We saw you on the chart, but it was just a little tough on a small boat. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.